the devil. I am the Lord Satan from the netherworld, ruler of the damned and eternal king of hell. Even I, the master of deceit, can only stomach so much bullshit from the mainstream media and indie grifters. That's why I tune in to Morning Extra with Uncle Warren, because he eliminates my competition, and also because I know I'm gonna see that motherfucker soon.
Deo, Deo.
Baby's got a burger and a shooter and that shake is all go down. Baby's got a burger and a shooter and that shake is all go down. Corrosion to her thighs, erosion of her pride. Baby's got a shooter, baby's got corrosion now, corrosion now. Baby's got it.
Wow. A little close there. Greetings from the front. It is I, Uncle Warren, on a Tuesday, Choco Taco Tuesday. If you're into that sort of thing, I am. I'm into Choco Tacos. I think they went away. Maybe they'll be back by popular demand. If you know what Choco Tacos are, it's like a waffle cone, hard shell taco, and it has ice cream in there, and they drizzle it with chocolate, and it's coated in chocolate too. Choco Tacos will save the world. That's why you don't find them anywhere. Good morning, everybody. A lot of sleepyheads. Everybody partying on a Monday night. Bella's here. What's up, Bella? Good to see you. We got Chuck's Intergalactic UFO Show Intergalactic in the hizzy. Max is here too. Pooping and pooping. You're pooping? Are you pooping and watching the show at the same time? That's good time management skills. Do you guys do that? Do you watch something while you're on the pooper? Some people are like, nah, man, I'm like the Marines. I get in, I get out. I'm not about camping out. I'm not about that lifestyle. It's just fine. Whatever. I mean, I'm just asking questions that probably shouldn't be asked. And that's fine too. That's not yo cheese. That's not cho cheese. Bella, you're so silly. We've got a lot of news. A lot of news. I can never gauge how long these shows are going to be because I tend to ramble sometimes off the top. And hey, Zell, what's going on? Belgian tacos, delicious. I knew a broad. Well, never mind. It's a story for another day and another show. If we can get that show to work, I tell you, man, 2 weeks ago, the secret show got knocked out, right? So we finished it up the next week, right? Ha ha! And everything went fine the next week. And then this week, got about an hour and change into it, and then teats up. It came back again. I came back fairly quickly, but you have to create all these new things, and then I was just like, the gods don't want me to stream tonight, so I just said fine. But anyway, so that's what happened with Secret Show Saturday. Sorry about that. We were getting into it too. We were talking about naughty things too. I think that's what it is. I think we get censored somehow by the platforms for saying naughty things about like butt plugs and what was the other thing? If you shave your junk or not. Anyway, you don't need to hear that business. You need to hear all this bad news coming your way right now. Well, everybody loves Palantir. I know you do. I do too. It's fun to say, and it's fun to report on because they usually have some evil shit going on. So, yeah, this is from the Libertarian Institute. Be sure to help out the boys and gals over there at Libertarian Institute. They could use your help. They do good work with independent journalism. Amber, what's up? Good morning, dear. Good morning, my L-I-L pork chops. I love it when people say lil. You know what I mean? It's like saying cap and C-A-P apostrophe N. Good to see you, dear. In a move raising red flags, White House taps Palantir for government-wide database of Americans. That means you and me and everybody in this chat, and everybody watching this later. In a move raising red flags with civil rights organizations, the Trump administration is yet again fucking things up and working with tech firm Palantir to develop a database for numerous government agencies to collect and store information on all Americans. Yeah. I didn't like Biden, but he didn't do this. Maybe he was trying to. You know, sometimes that's what happens. You have a Republican president who tries something. What was it? I think it was NAFTA. A Republican president tried to push, I think Bush Sr. tried to push that through, couldn't do it. And then Clinton came in and he pushed it through. So they help each other. They're all evil people. So, according to the New York Times report published Friday, a key Palantir product known as Foundry has been used by at least 4 U.S. federal agencies, including the Departments of Homeland Security and Health and Human Services. The firm is now speaking with other cabinet-level agencies. The widespread use of Foundry across the federal government will allow a number of agencies to access, quote, hundreds of data points on citizens and others through government databases, including their bank account numbers, the amount of their student debt, their medical claims, and any disability status, unquote. The program has caused concern among civil rights groups and former Palantir employees. Data that is collected for one reason should not be repurposed for other uses, one ex-Palantir official told The Times. Combining all that data, even with the noblest of intentions, which we all know there is no noble intentions when it comes to fuckery here, significantly increases the risk of misuse. That person was being kind. They know there is no noble intentions. ICE, the IRS, and the Social Security Administration are all expected to have access to the database. The system will work with Palantir's Gotham software. I can't do it with my headphones on, but I'm Batman. I used to be able to do it real quick. When you wear glasses, it really sucks. With Palantir's Gotham software, which is designed to analyze behavioral patterns in real time, flag potential threats, and support decisions around public safety and fraud detection, the Economic Times reported. In a statement posted on the company's blog, Palantir attempted to downplay its role in the project. Come on, guys. It's just a little database. It's teeny tiny. Look, it's like a grain of sand. I could eat it. Nom, nom. We act as a data processor, not a data controller, it said. Wink. Our software and services are used under direction from the organizations that license our products. These organizations define what can and cannot be done with their data. They control the Palantir accounts in which analysis is conducted. Since Trump returned to office, Palantir has racked up over $100 million in government contracts, and the firm is slated to strike a nearly $800 million deal with the Pentagon. Palantir is also a major contractor for the Ukrainian and Israeli governments, because of course they are. They also have those thin mustaches that you can pull out, and when you let it go, it goes wapow. The company's stock increased 5% after the New York Times story revealed the contract and is up 150% since Trump won the election. Palantir co-founders Alex Karp and Peter Thiel have both been confronted over their work with the IDF as Tel Aviv ethnically cleanses Palestinians from Gaza. Co-founders defended the relationship with the IDF because that's what Zionists do. They defend one another. Capping those kids. Not me. It's self-defense. It's self-defense. Everything's self-defense. They all trying to kill us. So apparently there was another questionable pro-Zionist shooting that happened. You vaguely remember Privacy and Rights. I do. I think I remember those long time ago. Suspect in Colorado attack told police he researched for a year. So this happened over the weekend, didn't it? Is this what happened? All right. A man accused of throwing Molotov cocktails, you probably heard about this over the weekend, into a Colorado group that had gathered to bring attention to Israeli hostages in Gaza, planned the attack for more than a year, and specifically targeted what he described as a, quote, a Zionist group, unquote. Authorities said in court papers unsealed Monday, charging him with a federal hate crime. Witnesses in Boulder said the suspect, Mohammed Sabri Solomon, 45 years old, yelled, "Free Palestine!" Uh-oh. See, it was like our other person there in, was it in New York? I think he did that. And used a makeshift flamethrower and incendiary devices. 8 people were injured in the attack, some with burns, as a group was concluding their weekly demonstration. An FBI affidavit says Solomon confessed to the attack after being taken into custody Sunday and told the police he was driven by a desire to, quote, to kill all Zionist people, unquote, a reference to the movement to establish and protect a Jewish state in Israel, among other things. Federal court records don't list the name of an attorney who could speak on Solomon's behalf, and no one answered the door at a Colorado Springs townhouse where public records showed he lived. The burst of violence at the popular Pearl Street Pedestrian Mall, a 4-block area in downtown Boulder, unfolded against the backdrop that continues to inflame global tensions and has contributed to a spike in anti-Semitic violence in the U.S. The attack happened, alleged anti-Semitic violence. In some cases, not so much. The attack happened on the beginning of the Jewish holiday of Shavuot. I hope I said that right, which is marked with the reading of the Torah, and barely a week after a man who also yelled "Free Palestine" was charged with fatally shooting 2 Israeli embassy staffers outside a Jewish museum in Washington. The 8 victims who were wounded range in age from 52 to 88, and the injuries spanned from serious to minor, officials said. Yeah, see, that's, you know, he probably works for Mossad. Look, their PR has been just getting shit hammered lately, right? Especially with this blockade, this siege, and not letting food and aid and whatnot into the strip. And that really cheesed a lot of people. So now they're like, oh no, you know, it's a classic, hey, you know, I beat myself up, and then I come to you, hey, look what happened to me. Feel bad for me, man. I don't know. I don't trust, and Israel's a bunch of fucking liars. I'm sorry, they're a bunch of fucking liars. I don't trust a goddamn word out of their mouths. So when they say that this guy is, he probably is some sort of op. I wouldn't, Shavuot. Oh, okay, cool. 6 of the injured were taken to let's see. 8 victims were wounded, age 52 to 88, and the injuries spanned from serious to minor. 6 of the injured were taken to hospitals. 4 have since been released, said Mary Kornfeld, a Denver-based organizer connected to the group. She said the clothing of one of those who remains hospitalized caught on fire. The attack occurred as people with a volunteer group called Run for Their Lives, wow, that is a very unfortunate name for that time, was concluding their weekly demonstration to raise visibility for the hostages who remain in Gaza. A video from the scene shows a witness shouting, "He's right there, he's throwing Molotov cocktails," as a police officer with his gun drawn advances on a bare-chested suspect who is holding containers in each hand. You can tell he's not. They didn't shoot him. Alex Asante of San Diego said he was having lunch on a restaurant patio across the pedestrian mall when he heard the crash of a bottle breaking on the ground and a boom, followed by people yelling and screaming. In the video of the scene captured by Asante, people could be seen pouring water on a woman lying on the ground who Asante said had caught on fire during the attack. After the initial attack, Asante said the suspect went behind some bushes and then reemerged and threw a Molotov cocktail, but apparently accidentally caught himself on fire as he threw it. The man then took off his shirt and what appeared to be a bulletproof vest before the police. I guess the guy was wearing a bulletproof vest. The man dropped to the ground and was arrested without any apparent resistance. In the video Asante filmed, law enforcement found more than a dozen unlit Molotov cocktails near where Solomon was arrested. The devices were made up of glass wine carafe bottles or jars with clear liquid and red rags hanging out of them, the FBI said. Your classic Molotov cocktail. Inside his car, law enforcement found papers with the words Israel, Palestine, and USAID, the affidavit said. Solomon told investigators he constructed homemade Molotov cocktails after doing research on YouTube and buying the ingredients. See, who says YouTube's not good for anything? He stated that he had been planning the attack for a year and was waiting until his daughter graduated to conduct the attack, the affidavit said. Authorities said they believe Solomon acted alone. He was also injured and taken to a hospital. Authorities did not elaborate on the nature of his injuries, but a booking photo showed him with a large bandage over one ear. State and federal authorities planned to hold a news conference yesterday at some point. Solomon was living in the U.S. illegally after entering the country in August 2022 on a B-2 visa that expired in February of 2023. Department of Homeland Security Assistant Secretary Tricia McLaughlin said in a post on the tweeters. McLaughlin said Solomon filed for asylum in September of 2022 and was granted a work authorization in March 2023 that expired. DHS did not immediately respond to requests for additional information. Public records listed Solomon as living in a modest rented townhouse in Colorado Springs, where local media outlets reported federal law enforcement agents were on the scene Sunday. Shamika Pruitt knew Solomon and his family as kindly neighbors with 5 children, 3 young kids, and 2 teenagers who'd play with Pruitt's kids in front of their building, share food and hellos. Another neighbor, Kiera Johnson, who lives in the apartment next to Solomon, said she could often hear shouting at night from his apartment and once called police because of the screaming and yelling. On Sunday, Pruitt saw law enforcement vehicles waiting on the street throughout the day until the evening when they spoke through a megaphone telling anyone in Solomon's home to come out. Nobody came out, and it did not appear anyone was inside, said Pruitt. An online resume under Solomon's name said he was employed by a Denver area healthcare company working in accounting and inventory control, with prior employers listed as companies in Egypt. Under education, the resume listed Al-Azhar University, a historic center for Islamic and Arabic learning located in Cairo. So he also worked as an Uber driver and had passed companies' eligibility requirements, which include background check, according to a spokesperson for Uber. And then he goes on for numbers with the war here. So I don't know, man. I'd like, I mean, there are just nut jobs out there, right? But I think, I don't know, man. These two back to just so close together like that, and they both yelling "Free Palestine." Somebody that don't pass the smell test, as they say. It means it stinks, is what it means. So Trumpy is trying to get rid of all these government jobs, and so now he is appealing to the Supreme Court to overturn block on federal job cuts. There they are here, some people who work in the government there. The Trump administration yesterday asked the U.S. Supreme Court to lift a lower court order that blocks mass layoffs and restructuring efforts across multiple federal agencies as part of President Trump's broader initiative to downsize the federal government, according to Reuters. The Justice Department's emergency request comes after U.S. District Judge Susan Ilston in San Francisco issued a May 22nd ruling preventing large-scale job cuts, referred to as reductions in force, across more than 20 federal departments, including Ag, Commerce, Health, and Human Services, State, Treasury, and Veterans Affairs. The ruling sided with unions, nonprofit organizations, and local governments that challenged the administration's plan. In its filing, the Justice Department argued that managing federal personnel is a core presidential power under Article 2 of the Constitution, and that Trump does not require explicit congressional approval to restructure executive agencies. The Constitution does not erect a presumption against presidential control of agency staffing, the brief stated. The Supreme Court has asked the plaintiffs to respond to the administration's filing by next week, on the 9th. Trump directed agencies in February to prepare for sweeping layoffs as part of his government restructuring fuckery. Judge Ilston, however, ruled that such actions exceeded presidential authority, stating that significant agency overhauls require congressional approval. See, presidents are doing all kinds of shit without congressional approval these days, right? Like going to war. So it's not war. We're just helping out, man. We don't need no congressional approval. Earlier on May 9th, Ilston temporarily blocked layoffs for 2 weeks and ordered reinstatement of terminated workers. Her broader May 22nd decision extended most of those protections. The Ninth U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals upheld her ruling in a 2-1 decision on May 30th, stating the administration had failed to show it would suffer irreparable harm if the order remained in place. The court described the executive order as a, quote, an unprecedented attempted restructuring of the federal government. This is one of several recent legal battles Trump has escalated to the Supreme Court since his return to office in January, where he's eating sandwiches, calling people names. So I'm all for downsizing bullshit stuff. Like somebody, I don't know who it is, they're trying to put through this bill to repeal the Patriot Act, I think, which I think would be fine, but that might be the old barn door is closed and those horses are they're already down the road, you know what I mean? So, but if I wouldn't be opposed to that kind of stuff, cutting the military budget. But no, it's not that kind of stuff. You saw what it is. It was like, what was it in here? Reductions in Veterans Affairs, Health and Human Services, right? Anyway, so that we'll see what the court says. The court's very wonky. It's very weird. You think the court's going to rule in some sort of conservative fashion, and then they don't. And then when you think they don't give a shit, then all of a sudden it's that's their favorite thing, counter stimulus. So we got more, don't we? Of course we do. More Trump news. So they've been talking around Iran, because Trumpy 86th to deal with them last time around. Now this time he's gonna, try and do something stupid. So they're trying to get Iran not to enrich uranium, and Iran said, yeah, yo. Iran said, go fuck yourselves. Trump contradicts report that says U.S. offer allows Iran to enrich uranium. So there's a lot of weird stuff with this. Trump yesterday contradicted a report from Axios that said the U.S. had delivered a proposal to Iran that would allow Tehran to enrich uranium at a low level for its civilian nuclear program. Sounds good, right? Sounds like something, just plain and simple and common sense, right? But here comes Trump. The auto pen should have stopped Iran a long time ago from enriching, Trump wrote on Truth Social. Under our potential agreement, we will not allow any enrichment of uranium. So they're not going to have an agreement, basically. Other U.S. officials have been publicly demanding that Iran eliminate its enrichment program altogether, a condition Tehran has made clear as a non-starter, to say the least. But the Axios report said the U.S. is showing flexibility on the issue. Sources told Axios that the offer put forward by U.S. Envoy Steve Witkoff, that guy, describes preliminary ideas to be discussed in the next round of negotiations. Under the outline, Iran would not be allowed to build any new enrichment facilities and must, quote, dismantle critical infrastructure for conversion and processing of uranium, unquote. Iran would also have to halt new research and development on centrifuges and would not be able to develop enrichment capabilities beyond those necessary for civilian purposes. Once the agreement is signed, Iran would have to limit its uranium enrichment to 3% for an undetermined period of time. The 2015 nuclear deal, known as the JCPOA, capped Iranian nuclear enrichment at 3.67%. So not even giving them the 0.67%. According to the Witkoff proposal, the idea of a deal would be to establish a regional enrichment consortium. In exchange, Iran would receive sanctions relief once the U.S. and the International Atomic Energy Agency were satisfied with its progress. Other media reports conflicted with what Axios reported, including one from the New York Times, which said the U.S. proposal demanded Iran immediately cease uranium enrichment. Sources told the Times that the U.S. called for the establishment of a regional consortium to produce nuclear power, which would include Saudi Arabia and other Arab states. Reuters also reported that the U.S. proposal included the demand for Iran to stop enriching uranium and cited Iranian sources who said Tehran was poised to reject the offer. In this proposal, the U.S. stance on enrichment on Iranian soil remains unchanged, and there is no clear explanation regarding the lifting of sanctions, a source told the outlet. Exploring a deal that allows Iranian uranium, try saying that 10 times in a row, Iranian uranium enrichment puts the Trump administration at odds with virtually every Republican in Congress and the government of Israeli Prime Minister, you guessed it, that's that guy, it's that crazy baby killer, Benjamin Netanyahu. Both the hawks in the U.S. and Israel are demanding that any deal must eliminate Iran's enrichment program altogether, a condition they're likely pushing, knowing it would sabotage diplomacy and bring the U.S. and Iran closer to war, because Israel doesn't like peace. They love war. While Trumpy has been pursuing diplomacy with Iran, he's also been threatening to bomb the country if a deal isn't reached. So we're going to talk about this. If you don't do what we tell you to, we're going to bomb you. It's basically what they're saying. The threats have continued even though U.S. intelligence agencies recently reaffirmed that there's no evidence Tehran is building a bomb or that Khamenei has reversed his ban on the development of nuclear weapons. They've been saying this whole time, and others have been saying it too. They don't have any nukes. They're not building nukes. But the U.S. is like, nah, we want war. War sells weapons. Money, money, money. Money fight. Money fight. No centrifuges. How are they supposed to isolate their THC diamonds and terpene sauce? Yo, you be talking that weed lingo, kid. You know these little youngins don't know that shit. So yeah, Iran just basically saying, yeah, okay, because they've been in this rodeo before with Trump the first time, so they know what's up. Meanwhile, Iran is demanding sanctions relief guarantee in those nuclear talks with the U.S. So they're like, look, motherfuckers, we're not fucking around this time. Iran has demanded that the U.S. clarify exactly how sanctions will be lifted if the two sides are to reach a new agreement on Tehran's nuclear program. I love these foreign press outlets, and they spell program with the M-E at the end. Bagai made the comments yesterday, days after the U.S. submitted what is described as an acceptable proposal. Unverified reports claim that Iran sees the offer as a non-starter and is preparing to reject it. One source was quoted as being seen on camera going, that's how he was preparing, because he's just going to. The pair has conducted 7 weeks of negotiations over the nuclear programming, with the U.S. seeking assurances that it is peaceful, while Iran hopes to escape punishing sanctions that have battered its economy in recent years. However, Tehran is now demanding Washington detail what it's offering, reflecting skepticism voiced earlier this year by Supreme Leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei. Skepticism. They're like, you guys are liars. Of course we're skeptical. In remarks carried by the official IRNA news agency, Bagai, we'll say Bagai. Well, it looks like Bagai. Bagai stressed the need for guarantees regarding the real end of the sanctions, including details on how and through what mechanism they would be removed. The American side has not yet provided the necessary clarity in this regard, he said. So yeah, they're saying, yeah, we'll drop sanctions. All right, cool. Which ones? Duh. May not know. But Begay also reiterated Iran's intention to continue enriching uranium for peaceful purposes. U.S. Envoy Steve Witkoff has said Trump opposes Tehran continuing any enrichment, calling it a red line. A red line. More like a white line. Probably going to do just a line of coke and go, what were we doing? I forgot. A leaked UN report shows that Iran has ramped up production of uranium enrichment to 60%, short of the roughly 90% required for atomic weapons, but significantly above the 4% or so needed for power production. Begay dismissed the report as biased, accusing unnamed Western countries of pressuring the UN to act against Iran's interests. Official sources cited by the New York Times said the recent U.S. proposal includes a call for Iran to end all enrichment, while Tehran has confirmed receipt of the proposal, which the White House described as being in Iran's best interests. It has said it is still reviewing the document. The White House described it as being in Iran's best interest. That is some mob talk right there. It's like, hey, yeah, it's pretty good proposal there, Iran. You be ashamed that something happened to maybe an earthquake or two. You know, we got that hot shit up there in Alaska. We bring the rain, baby. Go Start. What's up? Good to see you. Hello. Over there on Rumble. Holding it down. Yeah, so receiving a text certainly does not mean accepting it, nor does it even mean that it is acceptable, Begay said. The Reuters news agency quoted an unnamed Iranian diplomat as saying that Tehran is in the process of drafting a negative response to the U.S. proposal, which could be interpreted as a rejection. I would say a negative response usually is some sort of a rejection. It's not you, it's Well, it's not me either. I don't know who it is. The Reuters news agency quoted an unnamed Iranian diplomat as saying that Tehran is in the process of drafting a negative response. The official described the proposal as a non-starter because it does not soften the U.S.'s stance on enrichment or offer a clear explanation of sanctions relief, according to the report. Yeah, it's just the same old Trump bullshit, just talking out of his ass. And you're like, okay, where's the proof? All right, where's the details? Iran has held 5 rounds of talks with the U.S. since April 12th in search of a new agreement to replace the deal with the leading powers that Trump abandoned during his first term back in 2018. Like I said, don't fall in love with countries, But in this case, Iran is really getting kind of a bad end of the deal. And shit, I'd want to have nukes too if I was right next door to Israel with those nuke crazy motherfuckers. Fucking hypocrites. You sanctioned yourself one time. Oh my, you dirty monkey girl. You're the devil. All right, so that's that. What's next? What do we got next here? So I found this article interesting. I'm not quite sure where this is from. It's one of these, the South China Morning Post. The United States building up its military arsenal, right? Well, they need stuff to do it. There's this fun commercial about they make flags, right? They make American flags. Some of you may have seen it. And they say, we make our flags in America. These are American-made flags. And we're like, well, where do you get the materials for the flags? And then you all of a sudden you just see these crickets go by because they didn't have an answer for that. So, so the military needs supplies and stuff to be the military. And where do they get most of it? China. So, how dependent is America's arsenal on China's critical mineral supply? The U.S. Defense, so this is from, like I said, this is from the South China Morning Post via MSN. The U.S. defense sector is dependent on critical materials for its advanced weapon systems, but it has relied on China to meet its demands. As Beijing tightens export restrictions, there's a growing risk to the Pentagon's military readiness and supply chain security. RUHRO. China dominates the global supply of rare earths, including more than 90% of the world's processing and refining. It also has an edge in most other critical minerals, such as refined gallium, of which it controls 98.8% of the output. In recent years, Beijing has leveraged its dominance in critical mineral production and refining as a key negotiating point in trade wars, as well as targeting defense industries in the U.S. and its allies. In July 2023, Beijing imposed controls requiring exporters to seek permission to ship 8 gallium-related and 6 germanium-related products abroad. The list was expanded to include antimony in August of last year. In December, the Chinese Commerce Ministry imposed export bans on gallium, germanium, and antimony to the United States, which affects American military end users. In April, Beijing imposed trade restrictions requiring a special export license for 7 categories of medium and heavy rare earth elements, or the rare earth elements. Samarium, gadolinium, terbium, dysprosium, lutetium, scandium, and yttrium. Some of that, that's some bullshit. Some of those are drugs on TV, aren't they? Ask your doctor if terbium is right for you, as well as magnets and other finished products that contain them to be shipped out of China. These elements are essential to various American advanced weapons systems, including precision-guided missiles, fighter jets, naval warships, submarines, and advanced radar systems. Fighter jets, F-35 fighter jets contain over 400 kilograms of REEs per unit for its jet engines, avionics, munitions, and radar. Washington's latest next-gen air dominance, or NGAD, fighter, the F-47, is also likely to include a substantial amount of critical minerals, considering the incorporation of cutting-edge technology such as unmanned aircraft and artificial intelligence. Yipes! The AI overlords. I know, right? Isn't that fun to say? Naval ships and submarines. Virginia-class submarines use 4,200 kilograms, and Arleigh Burke-class destroyers require over 2,300 kilograms of REEs for their radar, munitions, and other technologies. It's just, REEs is fun, but they should just say rare earth elements. That's not a mouthful. Predator drones, Tomahawk missiles, Joint Direct Attack munition, JDAM, JDAMs, smart bombs, and advanced radar systems all rely on REEs, rare earth magnets, for propulsion, targeting, and guidance. More than 80% of the Pentagon's weapons system supply chains reportedly incorporate antimony, gallium, or germanium. In one of the applications, these materials cannot be substituted, meaning that the Chinese export restrictions make the U.S. defense industry supply chain more vulnerable, not just by limiting material supply, but by blocking access to separation and refining technology critical to building independent U.S. capacity. You can make them out of like wood. Go back to the old days, just make boats out of wood again, and make planes out of wood. While the Pentagon has invested more than $439 million towards building domestic supply chains in critical minerals since 2020 and awarded MP Materials $35 million for a heavy rare earths processing facility in 2022, a significant amount of work is still needed to create a critical mineral supply chain independent from China. Only one location in the U.S., the Mountain Pass mine in California's Mojave Desert, currently produces rare earths. While it accounts for about 15% of global production, the U.S. still has to import most of its rare earth minerals and refined products from China to produce neodymium magnets. MP Materials last year announced record production of 1,300 tons of neodymium, praseodymium oxide, while China produced an estimated 300,000 tons of NdFeB magnets the same year. That was terrible. The U.S. does not have any known mining facilities for gallium, while China produced 750 out of 760 tons of primary low purity gallium worldwide in 2024, and is known to have a production capacity of up to 1,000 tons. So they got these REEs on lockdown in China, apparently. So China reportedly accounts for around 48% of the world's mined antimony, controls 98.8% of refined gallium production, and is responsible for 59.2% of refined germanium output. These minerals are used in various military settings, ranging from bullets, night vision goggles and cables, to nuclear weapons and naval warships. In January, USA Rare Earths produced its first high-purity dysprosium oxide sample. Yeah, I smoked some of that shit. It was so good. I was high for like 4 days straight. Of up to 99.1% using ore from the Round Top deposit in Texas, but it still remains lab scale, and work must be done to transition to commercial scale production. U.S. defense systems are deeply reliant on critical minerals, and China's tightening grip on exports, tech, and production could accelerate their supply chain disruption. Without fast-track domestic capacity and cooperation with allies in critical mineral production, the U.S. could potentially face challenges in strategic preparedness in the Indo-Pacific region. And that's probably one of the reasons why Trump keeps talking about Greenland, and how he really wants Ukraine too, because they've got those REEs too. But Russia's right there. Russia ain't going to let that happen. Yeah, so that's the thing, you know, with all these tariffs and dumb business practices like this, I think China's just going to wait people out. You know, I hear all this propaganda about, their population's down to like 700 million or something like. I'm like, it's all bullshit. Don't listen to that shit. Yttrium also gets 10 points in Scrabble. Yes. So cow shit. Bovicium. Those were some hard words to say. I ain't gonna lie. Meanwhile, back to our regular fuckery in Israel as, of course, Israeli forces killed 51 Palestinians in Gaza over 24 hours. Gaza's health ministry said yesterday that Israeli forces killed 51 Palestinians and wounded 503 over the previous 24-hour period as Israeli strikes continue to pound targets across the strip and Israeli troops are gunning down people seeking aid. A little bit more about that in a moment. The health ministry numbers account for the dead and wounded Palestinians brought to hospitals. There are still a number of victims under the rubble and on the streets, and ambulance and civil defense crews cannot reach them, the ministry wrote on Telegram. The Palestinian news agency Wafa reported Israeli strikes and shelling in northern, southern, and central Gaza, and said the majority of the casualties, well, that would be just like all of Gaza, right? Said the majority of the casualties were women and children. You guessed it. In Jabalia, northern Gaza, a strike on a home killed at least 16 people. The health ministry also said that 75 Palestinians have been killed while seeking aid in the 6 days that the U.S. and Israeli-backed Gaza Humanitarian Foundation, the GHF, has been operating distribution sites inside the strip, also known as death traps. Yesterday, 3 Palestinians were killed and at least 35 wounded when Israeli forces opened fire near an aid distribution site in Rafah. A day earlier, 31 were reported killed near a Rafah distribution site in an early morning massacre. Israel has denied it was responsible for killing the aid seekers on Sunday, because they always deny it, although an IDF spokesman later admitted that Israeli troops fired at, quote, suspects, quote, in the area. Eyewitnesses, medics, and hospital staff who treated the wounded all reported that Israeli forces were responsible for the mass killing. The international charity Doctors Without Borders, Médecins Sans Frontières, that's MSF, said that its teams joined the mass casualty response in Nasser Hospital, Khan Yunis. Patients told MSF they were shot from all sides by drones, helicopters, boats, tanks, and Israeli soldiers on the ground. Yeah, it's just one big shooting gallery for those fuckers. Claire Manera, MSF's emergency coordinator, said the massacre has shown, quote, once again, that this new system of aid delivery is dehumanizing, dangerous, and severely ineffective. Aid groups have been calling for Israel to allow aid to be brought into Gaza through already established channels. Humanitarian aid must be provided only by humanitarian organizations who have the competence and determination to do it safely and effectively, Manera said. Gaza's health ministry said on Monday that since Israel resumed its genocidal war on March 18th, at least 4,200 Palestinians have been killed, close to 13,000 injured. And of course, the numbers only account for those that they have found. That doesn't account for the totals underneath the rubble. It says the death toll is over 54,000, but we know it's closer to more like 100,000, if not more. So, yeah. Remember, folks, these are murderers. They murder for land. But there have been calls to shut down GHF after deadly Gaza Witkoff massacre. That's what I was talking about earlier. Aid agencies and rights groups have condemned Israel and its partner food distribution organization after dozens of starving Palestinians were gunned down while waiting for food on Sunday. At least 32 people were shot dead and more than 200 others injured at 2 sites operated by the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation, GHF, a U.S.-Israeli-backed organization attempting to take control of aid delivery from the UN and doing a very poor job of it, as it is. Okay. Eyewitnesses said Israeli drones and tanks had opened fire on the crowds outside a facility near Rafah, while doctors at nearby field hospitals reported a huge influx of casualties with gunshot wounds. Patients told Doctors Without Borders they were shot from all sides by drones, helicopters, boats, tanks, and soldiers on the ground. The Humanitarian Medical Organization wrote in a statement calling GHF system dehumanizing, dangerous, and severely ineffective. The Red Cross reported an influx of 179 casualties at its Rafah Field Hospital Sunday, the majority of whom had suffered gunshot or shrapnel wounds. World War II trending, 26,000 points. World War III, yeah. This is the highest number of weapon wounded in a single incident since the establishment of the field hospital over a year ago. GHF denied that anyone was killed near its facilities and claimed the reports from eyewitnesses and doctors were fake. The Israeli military denied firing on civilians. They always do. But then there's always proof that they do. The incident was quickly termed the Witkoff Massacre by pro-Palestine social media accounts named after Trump's Middle East envoy who championed Israel's plan to take over Gaza's aid delivery system. Another massacre committed by the Israeli occupation targeting U.S.-supervised aid distribution points in Gaza, leaving martyrs and dozens of injured civilians. Hashtag Witkoff Massacre. Rami Abdul, head of Rights Monitor Euromed, wrote in a post on Tweeters. Eyewitnesses interviewed by Euromed reported that Israeli quadcopters and tanks opened fire on the aid seekers at around 6 a.m. local time as they waited to receive food at the Rafah site. One person described how a drone began firing on the crowd after warning it not to approach the fence. The occupation forces began shelling the area indiscriminately, turning the scene into a horrific massacre. At the same time, American security personnel fired tear gas at those in the back to disperse them and keep them away, they said. Footage from GHF sites has gone viral online, showing a chaotic free-for-all as thousands of people desperately try to reach boxes of food under the gaze of American mercenaries. Jan Egeland, head of the Norwegian Refugee Council, compared the system to the Hunger Games following Sunday's massacre. These real-life Hunger Games must end, a new ceasefire declared, and Israel must allow access across all crossings to the normal global humanitarian system, he wrote on social media. Jeremy Konendik, president of Refugees International, called Israel's hijacking of Gaza's aid system appalling and defensible, criminal. The Israeli government is weaponizing aid, and all involved with the GHF are abetting war crimes, he wrote on the tweeters. Shut it down. Oh, I like that. Shut it down. I believe that's it for that. So, yeah, this GHF, we knew it was going to be fuckery. If Israel is involved, then you know fuckery is definitely afoot. Please support Environmental Coffee House, who was unfairly politically targeted. She's fighting for us all. Okay. There you go. If you're in the YouTube chat, you can see that, I'm sure. But it's Buy Me a Coffee / Coffee House. Yes. Yeah, so this GHF aid organization is nothing but a joke. It's a farce. It's an attempt to pretend like they're doing something. Like, we're controlling. See, we control the aid, so that way Hamas isn't like hijacking the trucks and driving it. And you're sitting there bringing in crumbs, and these people are starving to death. I mean, they hate those people. That's why they're letting this aid just trickle in. They're just not good people. Meanwhile, the UN chief, he's calling for a probe into the killings near Gaza Aid Distribution Center. So UN Chief Antonio Guterres called yesterday for an independent investigation into the killing of dozens of Palestinians near a U.S.-backed aid center in Gaza on Sunday after rescuers blamed the deaths on Israeli fire and the military denied any involvement. Gaza's Civil Defense Agency said Israeli gunfire killed at least 31 people and wounded 176 near the aid distribution site in the southern city of Rafah, with AFP photos showing civilians at the scene carting away bodies and medics at nearby hospitals reporting a deluge of gunshot wound victims. The Israeli military, however, denied its troops had fired on civilians in or around the center, and both it and the aid site's administrator accused Hamas of sowing false rumors. Gotta have that standby. I am appalled by the reports of Palestinians killed and injured while seeking aid in Gaza. It's unacceptable that Palestinians are risking their lives for food, Guterres said in a statement without assigning blame for the deaths. Well, I think you know who to blame for the deaths there. He could call them out. I call for an immediate and independent investigation into these events and for perpetrators to be held accountable. Yeah. Israeli forces in the Gaza Strip began opening fire early Monday as people headed toward the same aid distribution site a kilometer away, killing at least 3 and wounding dozens, health officials and a witness said. So the UN doing its usual mealy mouth, lip service. Come on, everybody. Nobody's going to do anything. West Bank settler attacks reached 20-year high, over 220 Palestinians injured in 2025. Israeli settler violence against Palestinians in the occupied West Bank has reached unprecedented levels this year, according to the UN Office for the Coordination of Humanitarian Affairs. That's OCHA, to you and me. In its latest weekly report, OCHA documented over 220 Palestinian injuries so far this year, an average of 44 per month, marking the highest monthly attack rate in the past 20 years. The report highlighted the forcible displacement of the entire Bedouin community of Magair ad-Dir, roughly consisting of 120 people following the establishment of a fourth unauthorized Israeli settler outpost nearby. In addition to settler violence, Israeli military operations have intensified across the occupied West Bank. Israeli forces carried out punitive demolitions that displaced 80 Palestinians since January, since the start of this year. Israeli occupation forces have been carrying out a deadly military operation and siege against several West Bank cities. The operation began on January 21st and was dubbed Iron Wall. In May alone, 50 homes were destroyed in the Nur Shams refugee camp. In one case, residents of the Tulkarm camp were given just a 3-hour notice before the demolition of 20 buildings, the OCHA reported. The UN Relief and Works Agency, that's UNRWA, reports that over 33,000 Palestinians remain displaced from the Jenin, Nur Shams, and Tulkarm refugee camps and are unable to return home. Movement restrictions imposed by Israeli occupation forces in the Salfit government have also severely impacted nearly 90,000 Palestinians' access to health care, education, and employment. Meanwhile, Jewish Israeli settlers kidnapped and tortured 2 U.S. Palestinian brothers, Ghassan and Imad Jaber, in Burqa village near Ramallah. The brothers were eventually released and hospitalized, according to local sources and Palestinian state media. The spike in violence comes as Israel has begun occupying Gaza-style tactics to the occupied West Bank. Since the onset of its war in Gaza on October 7th, 2023, Israeli occupation forces and settlers have killed around 1,000 Palestinians in the occupied West Bank, according to Palestinian sources. And the greatest hits here, of course, the ICJ ruled that Israel's occupation of Palestinian territories, including the West Bank and East Jerusalem, is illegal and called for the evacuation of all settlements. Despite this, approximately 700,000 Israeli settlers now live in these territories, defying international law and deepening the humanitarian crisis. Yeah, and they'll continue to defy international law as long as international law is as weak as it is. Desert Mantis, hello. Gotta love a proactive UN, I know, right? I'd rather have a proactive BM. That's a bowel movement. I like a proactive one of those. It's like, come on, let's get out of here. And as we keep telling you on this show, it's always women and children that get are the big victims of this any of these wars. 50,000 Palestinian children killed or wounded in Gaza since the war began. That's children. Just kids, just these little youngsters right here. UNRWA has revealed that at least 50,000 Palestinian children in Gaza have been killed or wounded since the start of Israel's military assault back in 2023. In a post on its official Twitter account yesterday, the UN agency said that civilians, including children, humanitarian workers, medical staff, and journalists, continue to be killed and injured in Gaza amid Israel's indiscriminate offensive. UNRWA's statement comes as Israel's army chief, Herzi Halevi, ordered an expansion of military operations in northern and southern parts of the enclave. According to an Israeli military statement, the aim was to create conditions for the return of hostages and defeat Hamas. Yeah. Though rights groups warned that the operations were contributing to mass civilian casualties and widespread devastation. The Hannibal Directive. The military also claimed it would set up new distribution centers for humanitarian aid, an effort international organizers have dismissed as ineffective and exclusionary. Israel has closed border crossings to humanitarian aid for more than 90 days, deliberately pushing 2.4 million people towards famine. A new Israeli and U.S.-backed aid mechanism launched last month, the GHF, and of course it's come under fire for being shitty, as was predicted. UN bodies have cast doubt on the group's legitimacy, and its operations in so-called safe zones in southern Gaza have repeatedly ended in chaos, included deadly shootings by Israeli forces at distribution points. Yeah, so they're setting up these distribution points, and then they're surrounding these people with troops and like the fucking little baby helicopter, the baby helicopters and shit. On Sunday, Israeli forces opened fire on crowds waiting for aid in Rafah, as we told you, killing 32 Palestinians and wounding over 250, probably more than that. Sunday afternoon, artillery fire killed 3 Palestinians, including a disabled child, and wounded over 20 in the Al-Mawasi area west of Khan Yunis. Other strikes destroyed a kidney dialysis clinic that was apparently Hamas in the north and hit areas near the Al-Dabit junction in central Gaza. The health ministry said 37 Palestinians were killed, with 136 injured. Many more remain trapped under the rubble. Beyond the physical toll, Gaza is witnessing a mental health emergency, particularly among children. A recent study by the Gaza Community Mental Health Program found that 70% of displaced children show symptoms of PTSD, anxiety, and depression. I wouldn't be surprised if you're hearing explosions over their head every 5 minutes. I would be too. 10-year-old Lana Khalil Sharif from Khan Yunis developed vitiligo and premature graying of her hair after surviving a nearby airstrike. Her mother told the new Arabic language edition that doctors linked her condition to severe trauma. The girl has since become socially withdrawn and refuses to go outside. I don't blame her. In another case, 6-year-old Malik Ahmed, who was born with autism, lost her father in an Israeli strike on Nusrat. She has since developed serious health complications and now requires treatment unavailable in Gaza. Children who survive attacks are increasingly left orphaned and emotionally scarred. Jude Abu Saleh, 4 years old, lost both parents in a bombing and now suffers from frequent nightmares, panic attacks, and extreme separation anxiety, according to his aunt, who is now his guardian. Doctors are also reporting unexplained illnesses among children, including cases like 10-year-old Rahaf Ayad, whose hair and weight have dramatically declined, leaving her skeletal and immobile. Her condition has baffled local doctors who say the lack of medical infrastructure prevents proper diagnosis. The war has rendered Gaza's healthcare system nearly inoperable. Israel has destroyed 38 public hospitals, shut down 81 health centers, and disabled over 160 clinics. Since March, no medical supplies, fuel, or food have been allowed through border crossings, creating catastrophic humanitarian crisis. Children, so that's what they say. They say, well, we're defending ourselves, right? But instead of going after military targets. Well, they claim that these hospitals, these schools are all military and they're all Hamas. What's up, Global? Good to see you. Sandy should start a second channel. Sandy baby. Oh, wait a minute. You're thinking of somebody else. So I've heard people talking about the Freedom Flotilla carrying aid to Gaza. So UN experts urge safe passage for the flotilla. So there it is right there. And some of the people there. The hell? Is there any story to this? Wait a minute. Okay, I gotta do this. Oh, when you got it on when you have it on dark mode, that's when it's always fun. Okay, so UN experts on Monday called for the protection of a ship operated by the Freedom Flotilla Coalition, which departed Italy on Sunday, carrying food, medical supplies, and baby items bound for Gaza. Aid is desperately needed for the people of Gaza to forestall annihilation, and this initiative is a symbolic and powerful effort to deliver it, the experts said in a joint statement. Israel should remember that the world is watching closely and refrain from any act of hostility against the Freedom Flotilla Coalition and its passengers. Apparently it was attacked at one point. Let's see. They emphasize the legal right of Palestinians to receive aid through their own territorial waters and of the vessel to navigate freely in international waters. Israel must not interfere with its freedom of navigation, long recognized under international law, they said. The experts voiced concern for the safety of those on board, referencing a previous flotilla ship reportedly bombed by a drone off Malta's coast early last month. They said Israel has enforced a complete blockade on Gaza for 17 years, intensifying it since March 2nd, with aid almost entirely cut off for 80 days. Sorry. And get the rest of this here. There's not much left in here. That's so weird. As the Flotilla Coalition ship approaches Palestinian territorial waters off Gaza, Israel must adhere to international law and comply with orders from the International Court of Justice to ensure impeded access for humanitarian aid, the experts said. To which Israel said, "Did you forget who we are?" They condemned the use of aid as a weapon of war and accused the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation, the old GHF, of violating principles of neutrality and humanity, calling the current situation the most horrific phase of Gaza's crisis. The experts urged the UN General Assembly, those superheroes, to authorize peacekeepers under the Uniting for Peace mechanism. Member states have a legal obligation and a moral imperative to stop starvation and genocide in Gaza, they said. Rejecting international calls for a ceasefire, Israel has pursued a devastating offensive in Gaza since 2023. And there are the numbers there. Most of them women and children. Aid agencies have warned about the risk of famine among the enclave's more than 2 million population, but they don't care. Israel doesn't care about that. Chile's going to reduce their dependence on Israel over the Gaza genocide. So, little cracks in the armor there for, or cracks in the crappy Kevlar for Israel. But this is all talk. And as they say, money talks, bullshit walks. CJ, what's up? Good to see you, buddy. Hope you're doing well. The Chilean government has announced plans to diversify the Latin American country's defense ties in an effort to depend less on Israel, strongly condemning Tel Aviv's brutal campaign in the Gaza Strip. Denouncing Israel's actions in the besieged Strip as genocide and ethnic cleansing, President Gabriel Boric said he is looking to swiftly pass a bill to ban imports from the occupied Palestinian territories. I've instructed the defense minister to quickly present me a plan to diversify our commercial ties in defense matters that would allow us to stop depending on the Israeli industry in all areas, Boric said. In that sense, we support the proposal adopted by the government of Spain to decree an arms embargo against the Israeli government, he added. Spain has issued an arms ban on Israel comprising both sales and purchases, consistently calling on EU member states to follow suit. Boric's statement came days after the Chilean government announced that it would pull all its military, defense, and Air Force attaches from Tel Aviv in protest against the war in Gaza. A Chilean Foreign Ministry statement on May 28th said the decision is a result of the extremely serious humanitarian situation currently experienced by the Palestinian population in the Gaza Strip. The ministry condemned the disproportionate and indiscriminate military operation by the Israeli army and the constant obstacles to allowing aid into the besieged Strip. Chile's firm position has put it at risk of U.S. sanctions, according to a report by the Media Line on June 1st. They're like, hey, slow your roll, Chile. That's our boys over there. The U.S. is weighing a series of retaliatory measures against Chile in response to the Boric government's deteriorating ties with Israel. A U.S. government source told the outlet. The source went on to say that everything is on the table. Among the options being discussed in Washington, canceling Chile's participation in the U.S. visa waiver program, increasing tariffs on Chilean exports, suspending student visa interviews, and even closing the U.S. consulate in Santiago, the report added. Several Latin American states have been vocal about Israeli war crimes in Gaza. In May last year, Colombia announced the severing of diplomatic ties with Israel over the genocidal campaign. The year before, Bolivia cut its diplomatic relations with Israel and labeled the Israeli war in Gaza as aggressive and disproportionate. Yeah, Bolivia being all politically correct there. Last week, two of Brazil's largest federations of oil trade unions called on the country's president, Lula, to impose an energy embargo on Israel over its brutal war against the Gaza Strip. But I think Lula, unfortunately, he loves him some Israel. I believe so. I could be wrong. I hope I'm wrong. But I don't think I'm wrong, unfortunately. Meanwhile, down in Mexico, they're voting for judges, but the turnout is low down. Low down, my man. Low turnout as Mexico votes in controversial judicial election. A landmark vote to select judges in Mexico has been labeled a, quote, success by the president despite a sparse turnout and widespread confusion. Just 13% of eligible voters cast ballots in Sunday's vote to overhaul the court system. President Claudia Sheinbaum, you crazy diamond, proclaimed that the election would make Mexico more democratic, but critics accused her of seeking to take control of the judiciary, while analysis warned it could open the way for criminals to seize influence. Or as they say in Mexico, it's Thursday, or Tuesday, or Wednesday. Pick any day. The vote, a cornerstone policy of Scheinbaum and predecessor AMLO, aimed to fill about 880 federal judicial positions, including Supreme Court justice. I don't believe we're on. If we're still on, can somebody in the chat let me know? I don't think we are. I'm back? Okay. What the shit? Okay. Hang on a second. I just got to do some other stuff here. Okay. Okay. We're good. Okay. Okay. So that's basically it with that. People are apparently not a fan of voting for judges down there. Let's see. Does this work? Does that not work? One moment, please, folks. Be right back. Hang on a second. Do 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 do. All right, hang on a second. I don't know how long this is gonna last. Yeah, this is no good.